Hi, friends. Welcome to Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life. I am so glad we're here today together, Laurel. How have you been?
I am well today. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We have a really cool, short and sweet podcast for our friends today, an invitation, and a little chat about self help books and how they can really, offer us some cool transformation. So I can't wait to talk today, Laurel, and share a little bit about what we have to offer and to talk just a little bit about these books that we've chosen because they're very, very meaningful to me. How about you?
They're meaningful to me too. And what I love about this conversation is I have a whole list of books that have changed my perspective, the way I think about things, caused me to open my mind to new ideas. And I love this topic because a book that you pick up for whether it's fiction or nonfiction self-help, oftentimes there's messages within the writing for us that if we're open to feeling into that, we can learn so much from a
I
book.
know, I know, I know for me, sometimes I can read a whole book and it's good, but there's one line in it that literally changes me in that moment of reading it. And so the whole book is becomes this really meaningful book just from one line sometimes. Yeah.
That's right. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you turn pages down on when you have those, segments that you want to, or do you highlight? I want to know that.
Yeah, I usually turn pages down. I'm not a big highlighter. I'm only a highlighter when I know going into the book that I'm going to use it for a specific purpose. Or if I start the book and realize it's truly a life-changing book. And then I might get a pencil and do some checking like along the side of the page at a place that I want to come back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah.
How about you?
I do a little both. I don't often turn down pages. I don't know why. But the pencil marks or I will put bookmarks in. Sometimes there are books I know that I want to give away or maybe read again. And so while I love to highlighting if you ever want to read a book again,
Yeah.
only it keeps me too focused on the lessons or the messages that I received previously and not open up to something new that I might not have picked up the last time. So
Yeah.
whatever works for our listeners, whatever works.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's all good. I
Yeah.
feel like I know that I even picked up a used book, where somebody has highlighted or put a pencil in. And it's always curious to see what they've chosen to, what was meaningful to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What fun.
I know, so fun. So we are talking today about learning and coaching using a book, right? We have a beautiful offering coming this summer. We're so excited. We already have done a podcast on our favorite books. So if you happen to miss that episode, I think it should have been the one previous to this one. Go back and check it out. We have so many book titles suggested for you between Laurel and I. I think we really gave you a plethora, shall we say,
Yeah.
of books
Yeah.
that we love for self-help work. But today we're going to focus on a couple books. We're just talk briefly about them, and we're going to talk about what our book circle is all about because it's a very different kind. It's not a book club, is it, Laurel?
It is not.
It is not a book club.
No.
Do
That's
not
why
miss.
we're calling it a circle, right?
That's
A
right.
book
That's right.
coaching circle.
Yeah, yeah. So, so I'll let you share a little bit about what we're going to be doing this summer, and then let's get into the books. Okay?
Sure, sure. So we're going to be opening up an invitation to all of you to join us in Circle this summer, one evening a week, and we'll do this through the summer for 8 weeks. You can join us for one book that we'll work together and read and talk and discuss and learn from and grow from for 4 weeks, and then we'll jump into the second book for 4 weeks. And I'm really excited about this. I'm a summer reader, and it feels right to bring a group of women together
Yeah.
and enjoying some summertime fun and reading and growth.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, Laurel, when you're reading a self-help book, do you have more than one going at once? Do you only focus on one? Do you read novels too? Tell us a little bit about your reading too. I want to know.
Sure. So I'm going to say it depends on the level of what I would call heaviness, maybe for a particular book. So, we're talking in a general category of self-help books, but some self-help books um, are lighter reading than others. And so often if I have one that's a little heavier, I have to have something light to go with it.
Yeah.
It's not unusual that I have 2 or 3 books going on at one time.
Yeah.
And I do mix, kind of the nonfiction and fiction, so that I have, depending on what my mood is, I never want to have a book that I feel like, oh, I have to get through and I'm going to slug through it, because that takes the enjoyment out of reading. And it almost, we've talked about resistance before. If I'm reading and I'm treating it like it's a textbook and I need to finish it by a certain deadline, that really ruins it for me. I'm full of resistance in that way. What about you?
Yeah, I would say that more often than not, I'm reading one self-help book or psychology or spirituality book at a time. But that being said, right now I have two going, and I always read novels as well. And most of the time, my novel reading is restricted to beach, pool time, and bedtime.
Uh-huh.
Rarely do
That's
I
right.
read novels other than that. But most of the time, I'm reading my self help or my spirituality. The things that I love and I'm interested in for my professional life during the day. Yeah,
Yeah. And I do the same. My beach read is typically pretty light.
yeah,
My bedtime read is pretty short. And I think that's, you mentioned, kind of for your profession. And as coaches, I read everything I can get my hands on that might give me insight into wisdom and self-awareness, and just some guidance for life. But I do it equally for my own personal development. So
yeah,
it's hard for me to pick up a book that is not first in my hands because of my own personal development. And what I realized pretty quickly is, I am you and you are me, that anything that I may be going through in my own personal development journey, other women probably are going through similar things.
yeah. I feel the same way, and I always pick up a book based on what I want to learn and how I want to grow, and I always know that it's going to help my clients. Always,
Yeah.
yeah. I bring
Yeah.
something from that forward to sessions, to particular people, whatever. So I love that it's twofold experience or multifold experience. Yeah.
That's right.
So the two books that we've chosen for this summer, I just want to say that there are books that have been around for a little bit of time, one of them longer, quite a while, and we chose them, I feel like, because they're not too heavy. Like I think about a couple of books that I have right now on my desk, like I would never choose for a book circle, especially in the summertime, right? It would be like a very specific and deeper coaching experience. This one is going to be, I think, beautiful for the summer because the two books are pretty easy reads, I think. Don't you, Laurel? You
I
think?
do.
Yeah, I do think they're pretty. Yeah, and they're easy to share around, and they're intensely, simply transformative, which is really an interesting combination.
And that's what I love about these two books. They are easy reads, what I consider light reading, but, you know, hugely transformative.
Yeah, profoundly. So the first one, should we share? Are we going to
Yeah,
share?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
we're gonna
ready.
we're gonna share. All right. So you tell about the first one, and I'll tell about the next one. I
The
love it.
first one, The Four Agreements.
Yeah.
Now, this book is called a wisdom book, The Four Agreements, and it's Don Miguel Ruiz. It's been around for a long time, and it's a very simple book with four agreements, or four, maybe sometimes I think about them as spiritual laws,
Mhm.
or laws of humanity, four agreements that become wisdom of how to live your life in a way, in my words, not the book's words, but um, to be respectful of yourself and others.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
that's what I love about this book.
I know.
Um,
I know.
and with four agreements, we'll work through this book together in a circle, and talk about it in 4 weeks. And so this is going to be so nice that we can really read about an agreement, come together in a group, encircle, talk about that one agreement and how not only what we gained from reading the book, but how we might implement that agreement in our own day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And that's where the transformation comes in, I think.
Exactly, exactly. And why, self-help and how self-help books can be so powerful and profoundly transformative in our lives. We're really going to hopefully, in the circle, really, I hope support women in understanding, more deeply how to take a self-help book and apply it, actually use it in your life. And the four agreements are so incredible. I feel like, for me, I read that book in the 90s, and I still have moments when my old agreements, like people pleasing, will come in and interrupt, my be impeccable with your word agreement that I read from the four agreements. So, it's an ongoing process. That's one of the things I love about the four agreements, the simplicity of it, but the reality of how these four agreements can continually, if we practice them and practice them and practice them and really bring them into our lives, how they help release us from old beliefs, limited conditioning, other agreements that we've made in life that we really don't want to be beholden to any longer. And yet we might not consciously be working on that. And this really helps bring it to consciousness. So it's great.
Oh, it really does. And when you mentioned you read it, years ago, just looking at it, that it was published in 1997.
Yeah.
And that's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it is timeless, though. When I think about these agreements, one of them, don't take anything personally, how would that change our lives if we could really live not taking anything personally, right?
It
And
is
so
so
I'm
profound. Yeah.
really, really looking forward to. I've read this book now. This will be the third time. So I've read it twice before. And, each time, I mean, it's been years since I've read it, but each time, my life is in a different place. And so how I am reading it and receiving it and implementing it into my life
Yeah.
is different every time.
Every time it's new and fresh in its own way because we're in a
Yeah.
new and different place in our lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second book
Mm.
is da 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 da, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. And so for those people that don't know yet about Brene Brown, it will be a beautiful time to learn about her because her body of work is really incredible. She's brilliant, a beautiful example of somebody taking their profession and really enriching their own lives and other people's lives with that experience. So this book. Whew, this book has so many beautiful themes in it. And one of the things I think is going to be really fun for us to enjoy with our group this summer is taking, some of the themes in the book, which is, oh my gosh, love, authenticity, belonging, community, connection, and really exploring, within the group, right, how we'll be building that experience for ourselves, right, and growing and healing in it together. And then sharing some of her other themes, which are the themes that interrupt our ability to live with an open heart, to live authentically, and to really look at our lives right now and see where we might be with some of those themes. Where are we still having some interruption so that we can't fully show up the way that we want to and be our full, wholehearted, authentic self, right?
Yeah, this one I am so excited about. I mean, this book, The Gifts of Imperfection, was one of Brene Brown's early books,
Mm-hmm.
2010.
Yeah.
And so, I think for me, I was recently introduced, I say recently, it's probably in 2018, 17 timeframe that I started listening to Brene Brown. She had a very popular TED Talk, I believe, that just went viral.
Yeah.
And she's had several books in the last few years and has become quite a renowned speaker.
Yes.
And she's a researcher, which is one of the things, the science geek brain that I have.
Yes.
I love the how behind the why, or the why behind the how. And I love this book because it is simple. And, just looking at the subtitle, I guess you would call it, is Let Go of Who You Think You're Supposed to Be and Embrace Who You Are. And that's so much aligned for me with the work that we talk about, in our Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life podcast and our Facebook group, right?
Yeah.
doing the inner work to bring about your beautiful life. And I can't wait to get into this book with our circle of women friends.
I'm so excited. Yeah. So, for those of you that maybe are interested in joining our circle, we hope you are. Um, you can find out about all the details on my website, liveyourinnerpower.com. There's a whole page there. Laurel's website also connects to that page. Beautifulwork, beautifullife.com, which just got launched, is now connected to that page. So there's plenty of ways to find out about the book circle. And the sign up experience is really easy. We do want to make sure everybody knows that the group sizes are going to be limited because we really want to have a beautiful group experience. One of the ways that our book circle is going to be different is we are going to be using a peer model of group coaching. And so it's going to be, we all will be having time to share, and we all will be having time to connect with one another and share our thoughts and our ideas and our feelings. And so, in order to do that well, we will limit the group size. It won't be huge. Let's put it
Right.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be a nice intimate circle. And, thinking about summer, we talked about 8 weeks. We'll do 4 weeks for each book,
Yeah.
but we will have one in June, take a couple weeks off over the 4th of July holidays here in the US, and jump back into a second book mid-July to mid-August, I think. So we'll have all of our summer reading done right before school goes back in
That's
the
it.
fall,
That's
and won't interrupt our 4th of July vacations for those of us who are July vacationers. And I'm really looking forward to this.
I am too. And I want to just tell everybody, who's considering coming in and doing the book circle. We did choose the books so that they're fairly light reading. Don't feel like it's going to be a really heavy, deep experience. This really is about you'll be able to go as deep as you want. You can go as transformatively and quickly as you choose, or you can kind of just take it and absorb it and experience it, and then spend, I don't know. I spent years with the Four Agreements, so I feel like, and again, like I said, I still will revisit them at a moment, in a moment when I might think, am I taking this personally? Oh, wait a minute. I don't do that anymore, and then I remember how to reorient in my thinking and my feeling and my beingness to that new agreement and all that that means. And so we'll be able to get into a little bit more detail
Yeah.
and all that
And
juiciness, right?
I'm glad you mentioned that because both of these books are books that I pick up time and time again. And for instance, in the Four Agreements, it might be that I find myself taking something personal and I'm like, oh, I better reread that chapter. And, I just dive right into what it is I need. And the same with the Gifts of Imperfection. There are the way that both of these books are broken down in bite-sized pieces. And so, thinking about the Gifts of Imperfection, if I need a reminder of, cultivating gratitude and joy, if I'm falling out of that practice, or even some self-compassion, there's bite-sized chapters in both of these books that you can just pick up time and time again as a simple reminder of maybe something that you've fallen back into an old pattern and you need a reminder of how to pull yourself back forward again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. All right, Laurel. Well, everybody who's listening, you have an open invitation to us. Come visit the website, sign up for the book circle, and we look forward to meeting some new folks this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be
It's going to
fun.
be great.
It's going to be great. Okay, Laurel, off we go. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. See you
Thanks for being
soon.
with us, friends. Bye for now.
Bye bye.